The air between us was thick, like the whole house had stopped breathing. I clutched my soda can just to steady the tremble in my hands. The movie we were watching still played downstairs, forgotten. The lights were off. Everyone was gone. It was just us, bathed in silence, teetering on a line we had drawn for years but never dared to cross. Then, in one step, he crossed the line. He walked in, closed the door behind him. And that's where my life split in two. Hello, everyone. My name is Mia, born and raised in the quiet suburbs of Virginia. A town so calm it could almost trick you into believing nothing of this nature could ever happen there. The streets were lined with maple trees, and everyone knew your name at the corner store. I was an only child for most of my life, until everything changed. My mother was warmth personified. I still remember her humming in the kitchen, flipping pancakes in that tiny floral apron, smiling even when she was tired. My dad, a quiet man, worked long hours, but he loved us in his own way. Through the things he fixed, the groceries he brought home, the silent way he held my mother's hand at the dinner table. Life was simple, predictable, safe, until I turned 15, and my world cracked open. My mom died just like that, a sudden illness. In and out of the hospital in days, gone. I didn't have time to prepare. One moment she was cutting apples for my lunch, the next I was staring at an empty chair at the kitchen table. Grief became a third member in the house, uninvited, unrelenting. Dad changed. He became even quieter, like his words had died with her. For a long time we lived in silence. I went to school, came home, ate quietly, went to bed. No one smiled anymore. Our house was just walls and echoes. And then he remarried. Her name was Karen, and with her came her son, Alex. Alex was a year younger than me. He was polite, reserved. We barely spoke for weeks after they moved in. It felt like I was watching strangers settle into my mother's house. At first, I resented them. But Karen was kind, and Alex was different, quiet like me. And maybe that's where it all began. The bond between us didn't happen fast. It crept in like fog, soft, slow, unnoticed, until it wrapped itself around us completely. We'd pass each other in the hallway. Sometimes he'd hand me a plate during dinner, his fingers grazing mine just a second too long. We'd sit on the couch watching TV, our shoulders just barely touching, hearts racing and neither of us daring to move away. Were we imagining it, or was something really there? I'd find myself watching him when he wasn't looking, wondering if he was doing the same. And then came that night. Our parents were going on a 5-day trip, a little vacation, just the two of them. For the first time, the house was ours. The first night was innocent. We ordered takeout, watched some romantic comedy on Netflix neither of us paid attention to. I had snacks, dried squid, fruit, a couple sodas. We laughed, but it was nervous laughter covering something else building between us. Then came that scene in the movie. The lead characters, strangers moments ago, suddenly locked in a passionate kiss, hands grabbing, lips crashing. I felt the shift instantly. Alex went silent, so did I, and then he looked at me. I wish I could say I didn't know what was about to happen, but I did. I felt it in every part of me. He stood up, walked around the couch, and stopped in front of me. I didn't say a word. I didn't move, just watched him, heart pounding. When he reached out, his hand brushed the side of my face so gently, like he was touching something fragile. I didn't pull away. We didn't speak. There were no declarations, no confessions, just heat, want. A storm we'd both been holding back for too long. The first kiss was tentative, testing. The second was desperate. By the third, we weren't thinking anymore. That night changed everything. We woke up tangled in sheets that had once been a place of sleep, now stained with guilt and longing. I stared at the ceiling, the morning light spilling across the room, Alex's arms still wrapped around me. We didn't talk about it, but we also didn't stop. For the next 4 days, we lived like we were something we weren't. We cooked breakfast together. He made coffee. I wore his hoodie. We cuddled during movies, held hands under blankets, kissed in hallways. We slept in the same bed. It was domestic, comfortable, dangerously beautiful. And yet, every morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. I knew it couldn't last. I knew it was wrong. But I couldn't walk away. The day our parents returned, we cleaned the house like we were hiding evidence. And just like that, we were step-siblings again. Sitting at dinner, passing the salt, smiling when spoken to, pretending. But nothing was the same. The return of our parents was like someone slamming a door shut. The house, once filled with soft giggles and whispered conversations, was now thick with pretend normalcy. Karen would hum in the kitchen the way my mother used to. My father would ask how school was, his eyes flicking toward Alex like he was finally starting to warm up to him. No one noticed how we'd glance too long across the dinner table. No one noticed that some nights Alex's bedroom door stayed shut, but his bed untouched. We became experts in silence, in stolen looks, in footsteps timed to creaky stairs, and light switches flicked at just the right moment. At night, when the house was quiet, I'd slip under my covers and wait. Seconds would pass like hours. Then I'd hear it, his light footsteps, the creak of my door opening just wide enough for him to slip inside. We never spoke much. Our language was touches, kisses, breaths, the way he ran his fingers down my spine, the way I memorized the shape of his shoulders in the dark. But with every passing day, fear crept in. What if someone found out? What if this led to something we couldn't control? It was I who took the first step towards secrecy's security. I started taking birth control pills, quietly, desperately. It was the only control I had in a situation spiraling beyond logic. I didn't want to stop, I couldn't, but I also didn't want to ruin my life. Or his. I hid the pills under my socks in the dresser, took them with water late at night. I thought that would be enough, but sometimes precautions fail, and fate has its own plans. Alex was in his final year of high school. He'd been accepted to a college out of state, a few hours away. Not too far, but far enough. The day he got the acceptance letter, he showed it to me first. His eyes sparkled with pride. Mine filled with tears I didn't let him see. "You'll visit me, right?" he asked. "Of course," I lied, because something in my chest already knew this was the beginning of goodbye. That final summer, we clung to each other like drowning souls. Every moment was urgent, every kiss a silent scream. I tried to memorize his scent, the feel of his hands, the sound of his laugh muffled by my shoulder. And then, one warm August afternoon, he packed his things and drove away. No dramatic farewell, no confessions, just a long, quiet hug while Karen and Dad waved from the porch. I went upstairs and cried so hard my chest ached. I thought I was mourning the end of something beautiful, but I didn't yet realize I was mourning alone, because I was already pregnant. It started with nausea. I thought it was stress. Then came the missed period. I still told myself it was nothing, but deep down I knew. The pills had failed. The timing couldn't have been worse. I bought the test in the next town over, wore sunglasses and a hoodie like I was committing a crime. When I got home, I locked myself in the bathroom and stared at the pink lines. Positive. I slid to the floor, holding my knees, rocking gently like I was 5 years old again, waiting for my mother to come fix everything. But she wasn't there. She'd been gone for years. And Alex, he was gone too. I considered calling him. But what would I say? "Hey, remember that secret we were living? Well, now it has a heartbeat." I couldn't do it. I couldn't destroy the life he was building. So I said nothing. The weeks that followed were agony. I stopped eating much. I cried silently in my room at night. My body changed little by little, not enough to notice at first, but I knew. And then, one day, my stepmother noticed too. We were in the kitchen. I was making toast. She turned and looked at me longer than usual. Her eyes dropped to my stomach, then back to my face. "Mia, are you feeling okay? You've lost weight, but..." Your face looks different. I brushed it off. Just tired. School's a lot right now. But the lie hung in the air like smoke, and it didn't take long for her to confront me again. This time, with my dad standing behind her. What's going on, Mia? Are you pregnant? I froze. My fingers tightened around the edge of the table. My breath hitched. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The silence said everything. My father's face was unreadable. He didn't yell. He didn't ask who the father was. He just walked out of the room like the walls were caving in around him. Karen sat down slowly. Her voice was gentle, trembling. Is it someone from school? I shook my head. Mia? Then who? I couldn't say it. I couldn't put it into words. Because how do you explain the unexplainable? How do you tell your stepmother that the father of your child is also her son? So I stayed silent. That silence became a wall between us. They didn't press further, not yet, but I could feel it. The suspicion, the unease, the beginning of everything falling apart. I spent nights curled up on my bed, whispering to the life growing inside me. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't know how to face Alex. I didn't know how to tell the truth without destroying everything. But the truth was no longer a secret I could hide. It was growing inside me, and soon, very soon, there would be no denying it. I didn't plan to confess. I didn't rehearse it, write it down, or even intend to speak. I thought I could hide it until it was undeniable, maybe even until after the baby was born. But secrets have a way of rotting from the inside out. And that night, everything came spilling out. It started with a text from Alex. Alex, hey, how are things back home? Miss you. My hands trembled reading it. He didn't know. He had no idea that while he was settling into college dorm life, partying with strangers, and posting smiling pictures on Instagram, I was falling apart. I typed and deleted at least 20 different replies. Then, I did something I hadn't done since he left. I called him. He picked up on the second ring. Mia. His voice was warm, surprised. Hey, everything okay? Silence. I sat on the bathroom floor with my knees pulled up to my chest. No, I whispered. Alex, I'm pregnant. There was silence on his end too. A long, breathless pause. What? Yes. You're sure? I took 4 tests. And I'm late. I'm really sure. Another pause. This one longer. Then a soft exhale that sounded like something inside him breaking. Jesus. Mia. I didn't know how to tell you. You left, and I just froze. He didn't yell. He didn't hang up. But his silence felt louder than any outburst could have. When? He finally asked. 8 weeks. You didn't tell anyone? I haven't said who the father is, I replied. But they know I'm pregnant. Karen and my dad. They're already acting different, suspicious. I'm coming home, he said. He showed up 2 days later, unannounced. No explanation to Karen or my father. Just walked through the door like he still lived there. But everything had changed. He saw it the moment he looked at me. My face was pale, tired. My hands shook when he reached for them. We didn't even speak at first. We just sat in my room side by side on the edge of my bed, not touching, just breathing. The space between us filled with guilt and fear and all the things we couldn't undo. You should have told me sooner, he whispered. I thought about it every day. He looked up, his eyes damp. Do you still want it? I paused. Yes. I don't know how, but yes. Alex nodded slowly. Then we'll figure it out. Together. But the universe had other plans. The knock on my door came just past midnight. My father stood in the hallway, jaw clenched, Karen behind him with red-rimmed eyes. She was holding something, my old journal, the one I hadn't touched in months, the one I thought I'd hidden. We need to talk, he said.